Okay, so now the recording is on. We are looking at definitions. You remember last week, we couldn't access the slides on definition. And I had promised to find out what was wrong. So today we are able to access the slides on definitions. So let's begin. You remember that when we were talking about declaratives, we had talked about 4 types of declaratives. We mentioned factual statements, value statements, definitions, and arguments. Now, because of the importance of definitions, we have to discuss definitions with 1 week. So that's why today we are looking at definitions. So we are not just looking at definitions, we're going to see their problems with definitions. Let's look at the definition of definitions. Definitions are statements used to convey information about the meaning of words. Statements used to convey information about the meaning of words. So providing meaning is the function of definitions. Now, being accurate about the meaning of things is essential in critical thinking. That's why definitions are important. Now, the reason why meanings are important is that if you are saying something and what you are saying underlies the inaccurate meanings of certain things, then what you are saying automatically falls. Whenever we say something, the words we are using have individual meanings. So just imagine that some of the words, some of the things you are saying have inaccurate meanings. What happens to what you are saying? So meanings are like building blocks or the wheels of a car. So if the tire of a car gets burst, the car wouldn't move well. And if you are making an argument and your argument is premised on certain inaccurate meanings of certain things, someone can just stop your argument and correct the meanings you have of certain things. So that's how important it is. When you are reasoning as a critical thinker, you have to be sure first that all the meanings implicit in what you are saying are accurate. Let's look at 2 types of meanings: connotation and denotation. Connotation refers to the descriptive meaning, meaning you can describe. Descriptive, something you can write down or something you can say. If something can be said verbally or can be written down, it is descriptive. So connotation is the descriptive meaning of something, like the one you find in a dictionary. A dictionary contains written meanings of various things. They are all connotative meanings because they are written down, and they can also be said verbally. They are all descriptive. Denotation refers to examples of words out there. So denotations are not descriptive. Denotations are not descriptive. Denotations are examples. They are examples. So for denotation, instead of providing meaning, you point to examples. There are certain things that don't have connotative meanings. They only have denotative meanings. For example, color. If I ask you to describe color, can you? So colors, red, blue, black, they have no connotative meaning. You can't describe them, you can't write down their meaning, you can't say their meanings. They only have denotative meanings. You can only point to examples of colors: red, black, green, blue. Now let's look at another distinction that will help us in discussing definitions. Just give me some seconds.
Yeah. It's more female. Let me for.
Okay, so I'm back. So let's make the distinction between definiendum and definiens.
Hey, no.
We just talked about the difference between connotation and denotation. Connotation, the descriptive meaning; denotation, the examples, concrete examples. Now let's look at definiendum and definiens. Every definition has two parts: the definiendum and the definiens. Definiendum is the word or phrase to be defined. The definiendum is the word or phrase to be defined. So the definiendum is like the subject of the sentence, which you know quite well. The definiens refers to the rest of the sentence, which does the defining. The rest of the sentence which does the defining is the definiens. So that's like the predicate, which you're familiar with. For instance, in the definition, cat is a large, long-necked ungulate mammal. The definienum is cat, and the definiens is a large, long-necked ungulate mammal. The definienum is analogous to the subject, whilst the definiens is analogous to the predicate in English grammar.
The definitions.
Now, so let's look at types of definitions. So we have various types. The most common one is the lexical definition. Lexical. Lexical means dictionary. Also called dictionary definitions. They are the definitions we find in dictionaries. So obviously they are connotative definitions. Definitions that are describable or described. Example, a lizard means any of the numerous small scaly reptiles, typically having a moderately elongated body, a tapering tail, and two pairs of legs held outwardly from the body, comprising mostly terrestrial and burrowing species. So this is the definition of a lizard. You can find it in the dictionary. It's a typical example of a lexical definition. Ostensive definitions. Ostensive definition is a non-verbal way of conveying the meaning of a word by pointing to the actual object or demonstrating the meaning of a word in real life situations. By pointing to an actual object or demonstrating the meaning of a word in real life situations. Okay, so obviously from this definition, it is a type of denotative definition. Okay, so color words such as yellow, red, green, and so on cannot be defined descriptively. So I've said that before. They can only be defined ostensively. Also, words that denote styles of dance, for instance, Adowa, Abaza, Azonto, and so on, are defined using ostensive definitions. So an ostensive definition is an example of a denotative definition. Theoretical definitions. Theoretical definitions. Definitions that originated from specific disciplines. Definitions that originated from specific disciplines. Examples of words or definitions with theoretical definitions include inflation, which originated from economics, bipolar disorder, which we got from psychology, viral load, which came from chemistry. Example, viral load is the numerical expression of the quantity of virus in a given volume of fluid. Viral load is a numerical expression of the quantity of virus in a given volume of fluid. So that's an example of a theoretical definition.
Miss Paulina. Hello, Miss Paulina.
Yes.
Please, can you mute your microphone?
Mute yourself.
Uh,
Mute yourself.
Okay, so this we are looking at stipulative definition, but to rehearse what we just said, we said theoretical definition is a type that originates from specific disciplines. So when you look at certain words, you realize they came from specific academic disciplines. Now, stipulative definition. We use stipulative definitions when we assign a meaning to a word either for the first time or for a specific project. When we assign meaning to a word either for the first time or for a specific project. Example, the Ghanaian word frenemy means a person who is an enemy pretending to be a friend, or someone who is a friend but also a rival or an opponent. So a more accurate example would be that you are embarking on a project. Maybe you want to write a long essay, you need to do some research about the income of villagers in a village. So if you want to do a project about the income of villagers in a village, and then you go to a village and do some research, investigate the incomes of villagers in that village. And then when you are about to write your long essay or your thesis or your dissertation, you have to start by providing a definition of income. And then you go to a dictionary, and dictionary tells you income is a fixed amount paid to an employee at the end of a month, and so on and so forth. And then you see that it is not suitable for the type of income you were investigating. So first of all, what you have to do is to write down the dictionary definition and then say that, oh, this definition is not suitable to my work. So for the purposes of this project, an income is blah, blah, blah. An irregular income that comes from any source and this and that. So you are stipulating a definition for the project. You are stipulating a definition for the project. That's what a stipulative definition means. A definition that is created either for the first time or for a specific project. All right. I'm going to have to change this example for something more accurate. Operational definition. Defining a term by describing a set of actions or operations that when completed, when accomplished, will determine the entity referred to by the term. Defining a term by describing a set of actions or operations that, when accomplished, will determine the entity referred to by the term. Example: a solution is an acid if and only if litmus paper turns red when dipped into it. A solution is an acid if and only if litmus paper turns red when dipped into it. So there's an operation involved, and that is the dipping of litmus paper into a solution. A substance is translucent if and only if, when held up to a strong light, some of the lights come through. So there's an operation, and the operation is holding up an object to a strong light. So there must be an operation described in a definition for the definition to be termed operational definition. Still an operational definition. Note that an operational definition may specify an operation. It must specify an operation. For instance, the definition, a solution is an acid, if and only if it has a pH of less than 7, is correct. But it is not an operative definition because it does not outline an operation, a procedure, or a step-by-step demonstration of a phenomenon. So this is also a correct definition of an acid, but it is not an operational definition because it doesn't stipulate an operation. So you can't call it an operational definition. Now let's talk about the essential, or what they call the real definition, the most accurate kind of definition. An essential or real definition is the only definition that captures the necessary and sufficient conditions for a definiendum. The only definition that captures the necessary and sufficient conditions for a definiendum. All other definitions are unable to capture the necessary and sufficient conditions for a definiendum. Now, examples of essential definitions. A prime number is any number divisible by only itself and 1. A prime number is any number divisible by only itself and 1. An even number is any number divisible by 2. Essential definitions are available only in mathematics. Now, the reason they are called essential definitions is that if you are presented with only the definitions and you are asked to supply the definiendum, instead of the definiendum, there's a space, a dash, and you're presented with only the definitions. And they say, what is the definiendum? It will be very clear to you what the definiendum is just by looking at the definitions. It is only in an essential definition that such a thing is possible. It is only in an essential definition that you can be presented with only the definitions, and then you know automatically what the definiendum is. So that means the definitions captures the necessary and sufficient conditions for a definiendum. But outside mathematics, if you are given just the definitions of something and asked to supply the definiendum, you will not be so sure. For instance, you are given just the definitions of a table or a chair and asked to supply, you wouldn't be sure whether it's a table, a chair, or even a bed or a car, or you wouldn't be sure, no matter what it is. If you look at the definition of a table is a 4-legged or 3-legged object made of wood or metal. You see that none of those items is essential for defining a table. 4 legs is not essential. You could use 3 legs. Made of wood is not essential. You could say it is made of metal. It can even be made from glass. So once you step outside mathematics, if you are provided with the definitions, just the definitions of something, and asked to provide a definiendum, you wouldn't be sure. because the definitions can just as well refer to something else. It's only in mathematics that you are presented with only the definitions, and then automatically you know what the definiendum is. Only in mathematics. Outside mathematics, we say other definitions are what we call essentially contestable. Other definitions outside mathematics are essentially contestable definitions. Let's do some exercises. Determine the type of definition in each of the following passages. What type of definitions do we have here? The first one, a house means this, and you see an image of a house. What kind of definition is it? Anyone? A house means this. And instead of a word, we are presented with an image of a house. What kind of definition is it?
Ostensive.
Ostensive definitions.
Okay, ostensive. Now the second one, water means a molecule composed of two hydrogen atoms bonded to one oxygen atom. What kind of definition?
Theoretical definition.
Okay.
Theoretical set.
Theoretical definition.
Okay. What about the last question? A nuclear family cell is a living
Lexical
unit
definition.
a man, woman, and
The
their
last one
children.
is a lexical definition.
Lexical definition.
Okay, like
Theoretical definition.
it can also be theoretical because we got it from sociology. So nuclear family originated from sociology, although a lot of you might not know. So it is a lexical as well as a theoretical. Remember that it can be more than one type of definitions. A particular definition can be lexical, theoretical, operational at the same time. All right.
So can you also say it's essential or real?
For it to be essential, you have to be sure of, you have to be able to tell the definiendum just by looking at the definitions, and then the definitions has to capture the necessary and sufficient conditions for the definiendum, and also it has to be in the area of mathematics.
Okay.
Let's look at the problems with definitions. So definitions can have problems. Definitions can fail to provide accurate meaning in several ways, such as being too narrow, too broad, vague, circular, or begging the question. These are all types of inaccurate definitions or inaccurate meanings presented by a definition. Let's see some of the problems. So we'll begin with too broad. A definition is too broad if the definition refers to objects or properties beyond those needed to define a definition. If the definition refers to objects or properties beyond those needed to define the definition. In other words, if the items denoted in the definitions go beyond what is needed to define a definition accurately, then the definition is too broad. Example. So when the definition is referring to items that go beyond the definition, the definition is too broad. Example, a toy is a machine. A toy is a machine. Note, there are many machines that are not toys, so the property machine is too broad to define a toy. When you define a toy as a machine, you are defining a toy as all the things that are machines. Meanwhile, most of the things that are machines are not toys. All the things in this world, electronics, vehicles, planes, all kinds of, they are all machines. And then you say a toy is a machine. In other words, you are making a toy coextensive with all the non-human technology on the planet. That's not true. All those things go beyond toys. So in that case, the definitions refers to items that go beyond toys. The definition is too broad. Now let's go to too narrow. The definition is too narrow if the definitions fails. A definition is too narrow if the
Sir,
definitions
please, I
fail.
can't see.
Come again.
It's not showing. I mean, I can't see the slides on the screen.
Can anyone else see the slides?
Yes, sir.
Yes. We can see it.
Yeah, clear.
Please, maybe check your network.
We can see.
We can see.
So maybe I think it's a
Okay, then you need to check. You need to check your device. If others can see it, then please check your device to see what is wrong. If others can see it, then the problem is within your device. Check your device to see what.
The slides are on the WhatsApp group. You can check the WhatsApp group. You can see it.
The slides are on the WhatsApp group, so anyone who can see the slides right here can also get them on the group, the critical thinking group. Yeah.
Okay, so a definition is too narrow. A definition is too narrow if the definitions fails to capture the full range of items needed to define a definition. If the definitions fails to capture the full range of items needed to define a definition. In this case, one realizes that the definitions lists fewer items. The definitions lists fewer items than is denoted by the definition. In other words, the definitions does not list enough items to define a definition. Example, a toy is a tiny car used by infants to play. A toy is a tiny car used by infants to play. A toy is a tiny car used by infants to play. Note, there are many toys that are not made in the form of cars. There are many toys that are not made in the form of cars. So the property car is too narrow to define a toy. Toys go beyond tiny cars. So when you define a toy as a tiny car, you are only listing a little segment of all toys. So such a definition is too narrow to define a toy. Okay, so what about vagueness? The definition is vague if there's no telling what class of things the definition refers. If there's no way of telling what class of things the definition refers. Example of a vague definition. Democracy is a kind of government where there's freedom for all. Democracy is a kind of government where there's freedom for all. This definition does not clarify who all refers, whether it denotes human beings, animals, birds, crocodiles, and so on. So democracy, freedom for all what? So the all does not refer to any class of items. It's just all. It extends to the entire universe. So that's too vague. So a definition is vague if there's no way of telling what class of things or what class of items it refers to. All refers to nothing. Okay, ambiguous. A definition is ambiguous if the definition presents more than one possible meaning of the definition. If the definition presents more than one possible meaning of the definition. A sentence is ambiguous if it lends itself to more than one distinct interpretation. You can see why it is different from vagueness. Vagueness is when the definition does not refer to anything at all. It just refers to a universal category. But ambiguous is when the definition is presenting more than one possible meaning. It is not vague, but it is presenting more than one specific meaning. Examples of ambiguous definitions include faith is true belief. A triangle is a figure composed of 3 straight lines intersecting at 3 different points in which all the angles are equal to 80. Now let's look at the explanations. In the first example, true belief could mean either sincere belief or a belief that is not false. In the second example, one wonders if each of the 3 lines is equal to 180 or a combination of the 3 lines is equal to 180. So in each of these examples, you are facing more than one possible meaning. So it is ambiguous, not vague.
Yes, I can hear.
Hey, you. Hey.
All right, so let's look at secularity. Secularity. A definition is secular if the definition appears in the definitions. If the definition appears in this definitions, or if the definitions is cited as part of the if the definition is cited as part of the definitions. In other words, the definitions repeats the definition. Examples. Morality is to be morally right. Morality is to be morally right. Now, you are supposed to provide the meaning of morality, and then you just say morality is being morally right. That's secularity. That's repeating the definition as part of the definitions. Metaphysics is a systematic study of metaphysical issues. Metaphysics is a systematic study of metaphysical issues. That it doesn't provide the meaning of metaphysics. It just repeats metaphysics or recirculates metaphysics. Pentagon is a plane figure having the shape of a pentagon. So the meaning is not provided. Instead, what you have is a repetition of the definition. Let's look at begging the question. Begging the question. A definition begs the question if the definition is obscure, digresses from providing meaning, or does not help in shedding meaning on the definition. A definition begs the question if the definition is obscure, digresses from providing meaning, and that's the one you take seriously. When the definition digresses from providing meaning and starts doing something else, maybe it starts working as a factual statement, doing the job of a factual statement or a value statement. then you know it has digressed from providing meaning, as we'll see in some examples. Example, Jubilee House is the office where every Ghanaian would want to be. Jubilee House is the office where every Ghanaian would want to be. Is that the definition of Jubilee House?
No, sir.
Instead, the definition is telling us something else about Jubilee House. Now, the definition is providing information about the intentions of Ghanaians towards Jubilee House. That's not the meaning of Jubilee House. The correct definition is the Jubilee House is the name given to the office of the President of Ghana. So what was the problem? The problem was that the definition digressed from providing meaning and went on to do something else. Let's do a few exercises. Diagnose the problems with the following definitions, or in other words, what are the problems with the following definitions? A bird is an animal that has wings. A bird is an animal that has wings. What's the problem?
So I think it means the definitions is not giving like full meaning to the definition. That's what I think.
Okay. Any other attempt? Any other attempt? Any other opinion?
It's too broad. The definition is too broad.
Okay, please explain why it's too broad. If you're not answering, then mute your microphone. If you are not answering the question, mute your microphone.
Yeah, please, I think it's valid.
Yeah, someone said it's too broad, and I asked her to explain why it is too broad.
It's because there are lots of animals that have wings, not only birds.
Okay, please give us examples.
Like
at least one.
The hen.
The what?
The hen.
I thought the hen is a bird. But there are indeed other animals that have wings that are not birds. Who can give us an example?
A bat.
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 Yes, that's it. Bat and a bee. A bee is an example of what? An example of an insect. So bats and insects have wings but are not birds. So defining a bird as an animal with wings is what?
The dragon.
So defining a bird as an animal with wings is what?
Too broad.
It's too broad.
Yes, please.
And that's because the definitions refers to items that go beyond birds. The definitions refer to items that go beyond birds or that are possessed by other animals beyond birds. A human being is an animal that has two legs. A human being is an animal that has two legs. Any problems?
The definition is too narrow.
Explain why it's too narrow.
Because it's not specific as to what a human being is. Human beings are more intelligent than other animals. we wear clothes. Like there's more to add on than to just an animal that has two legs.
Okay, let's begin by asking the following questions. So, are all human beings supposed to have legs?
Yes, please.
Okay, all human beings are supposed to have legs.
enjoying. You're
Yes,
going to
please.
enjoy.
Is it only human beings that have two legs? Is it only human beings that have two legs?
No,
No,
no.
chickens also have two legs and birds.
Okay, birds have two legs. What else
It's
have two
also
legs?
Oh, media. Anything.
What else has two legs?
That's
Dinosaurs have two legs and small arms. He's thinking like me. Dinosaurs are no longer. Huh?
Okay, so there are other creatures, there are other organisms
it's a-
apart from human beings that have two legs. So defining a human as an animal that has two legs is what?
broad.
Exactly.
It's too broad.
Except now, monkeys and apes.
All right, so a bird is a feathered animal that can fly. A bird is a feathered animal that can fly. Any problem?
Yes, sir.
You always have.
Yeah.
It's not a dream, it's a
So it's too
nightmare.
narrow.
Too narrow. So please explain why it is too narrow.
So it's too narrow because there are some birds that can fly.
There are some birds that cannot fly.
Yes, and
Yeah.
some birds don't have feathers.
Okay. Example of birds that cannot fly.
So
An
chicken,
ostrich.
ostrich.
Say
Ostrich.
duck.
Okay. Ostrich.
Say
Okay.
what?
Okay. So what it means is that not all birds can fly. Not all birds can fly. So defining a bird as an animal that a feathered animal that can fly is what?
It's too narrow.
Or let for the purpose of clarity, and to teach you the ideal way to do it, the definition does not list all the definition is listing the properties of only some birds, not all birds. The definition is listing the properties of only some birds, not all birds, since not all birds can fly. So when the definition is not listing items that apply to all birds, the definition is too what?
Narrow. It's too
All right.
narrow.
The definition is too narrow. Let's go to the next one. Philosophy is a study of the works of David Hume. Philosophy is a study of the works of David Hume.
The definition is too narrow.
Yeah, it's
Too narrow.
Yeah, explain why it's too narrow quickly.
The reason why the definition is too narrow is because philosophy is like this one. I think theoretical definition. And when it's theoretical definition refers to like a study of an holistic like something like. So I think yeah, that's what I know.
All right, so is David Hume a philosopher? Is David
No.
Yeah, so David Hume is a philosopher. Okay, so David Hume is a
We
prominent
know they
philosopher.
hear anything, oh, bro.
David Hume is a prominent philosopher, but obviously philosophy cannot be the study of only the works of David Hume. So because the definitions does not list the items that are enough to capture the definiendum, the definition is too what?
Narrow.
Too narrow. All right. So let's go to the next one. A submachine gun is a gun that shoots like a machine. A submachine gun is a gun that shoots like a machine.
The definition is circular.
It's circular.
It's secular.
Secular, sir.
All right. So next one.
Yeah, secular.
Happiness is an emotion that people generally prefer to sadness. Happiness is an emotion that people generally prefer to sadness.
Begging the question.
Happiness is an emotion that people generally prefer to sadness.
Begging the question. God.
So
Oh,
does it
yeah,
provide the meaning of happiness?
no.
It's vague.
Okay, so it does what? It digresses from providing meaning and begins to compare happiness to sadness. So the definition does what? It begs the question. All right. So this is the end of our class.
Is it serious?
Next week, we are going to treat the normative and the empirical. So are there any questions before I stop the recording so that we can retrieve the recording?
Hello.
Okay. Elizabeth, you want to ask a question?
Sir, please, I didn't hear why the last one is begging the question.
Were you there when we were discussing begging the question as a problem of definition? All right, so the last one begs the question because the definitions digresses from providing the meaning of the last one is begging the question because the definitions digresses from providing the meaning of the definiendum. Any other question?
Okay,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you.
Yeah, go ahead. We have a limited time before closing.
Please, sir. My question is about the connotation and the denotations. You said the denotation, it has only examples. And you gave an example like color. Please, sir, way back primary school, my safety teacher gave us a correct definition to color. Aside the examples, we had an explanation. And you said a color has no definition. So that's it for
Define green.
Hello. Hello.
Hi.
You said something.
Hello, let's kindly hold on. Dr. Annie will join us very soon. So, and please mute yourself. I heard that guy who said, "Are you serious? Is that man serious?" Hey, please, you people should be watching your language. Okay, thank you.